Hi, guys. Welcome back. Listen carefully.
It was one of those days I never thought would come. I found myself sitting on a soft couch in a waiting room. My leg nervously crossed over the other, fingers fidgeting with the strap of my bag. My heart pounded faster than usual, and I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Today was the day of my first ever therapy session. I had resisted the idea for a long time. Therapy? For me? I never imagined needing to sit down with a stranger to talk about my problems. "You're strong. Figure it out yourself," was always my inner motto. But for weeks, maybe months now, I had felt like I was losing control. The weight on my shoulders was too much. Every time I tried to push it away, it came back heavier. My friends, my family, they all said the same thing. "You should try therapy. It might help." Finally, I caved. I sat in that waiting room, staring blankly out the window, trying to steady my breathing. What do I even say? I thought to myself. Images from TV shows and movies popped into my head. People lying on couches, talking about deep-seated trauma or crying about their childhoods. Was I supposed to do that? Where would I even begin? The door creaked open, pulling me out of my anxious thoughts. A woman, maybe in her 40s, with kind eyes and glasses, stepped out.
"Hi, you must be Emma.
She said with a warm smile.
Come on in. I'm Dr. Wilson."
The office was cozy, but not overly personal. Just a comfortable chair for me, and a modest desk with a few family photos. On the walls, there were some calming abstract paintings. It wasn't too clinical, but not overly homely either, just enough to make me feel like I wasn't under a microscope. Dr. Wilson sat across from me, maintaining her warm smile.
"How are you feeling today?"
He asked gently. A simple question, but it felt loaded in that moment. I hesitated, not sure how honest I should be right away. I gave her a half-hearted smile and said, "I'm okay, I guess." She nodded.
That's fair. It's perfectly fine not to know exactly how you're feeling. Starting therapy can feel, well, uncomfortable at first. But the fact that you're here shows that you're ready to talk about what's been on your mind.
I shifted uncomfortably in my seat, trying to decide how to begin. It was as if my brain was a traffic jam of thoughts, and I couldn't figure out which one to let through first. Finally, I sighed and said, "I feel stuck. Like, I don't know how to move forward. Everything feels off lately." She tilted her head slightly and said,
Stuck. That's something a lot of people feel at different points in their lives. Can you tell me more about what makes you feel that way?
I took a deep breath, staring at my hands for a moment before looking back at her. It's my job. I used to love it, but now, I don't know. It's like I'm just going through the motions. Every day feels the same, and I can't seem to shake that feeling. She didn't interrupt. She simply listened, her expression encouraging me to keep going. When I paused, she said,
It sounds like you're feeling a sense of burnout. That's not uncommon, especially when you've been doing something for a long time. But I wonder if it might be connected to something else in your life.
Her words hit home, though I hadn't really expected them to. My dissatisfaction with work was just the tip of the iceberg, but I hadn't wanted to acknowledge what was really weighing me down. There was more. Much more. The thought of saying it out loud made my throat feel tight, but I knew I had to. I hesitated for a moment. Then, almost whispering, I said, "Yeah, maybe, I think. I've been feeling really lonely. Like, I don't even know how to connect with people anymore." Saying those words felt like opening a floodgate. Suddenly, everything started spilling out things I hadn't planned on saying, things I didn't even realize I had been bottling up. I talked about friendships that had faded away, relationships that had failed, and the increasing sense of isolation I felt in a world where everyone else seemed to be moving forward while I stood still. Dr. Wilson remained calm and attentive the whole time, nodding occasionally, but mostly just letting me talk. She didn't rush me or cut in. She gave me space, and I found myself filling that space with things I'd been afraid to admit even to myself. When I finally stopped talking, I was exhausted, but in a strange way, it felt good. There was silence for a moment before she said,
It sounds like you've been carrying a lot, and for a long time. Feeling disconnected, both from others and from yourself, can be incredibly painful. But it's good that you're acknowledging it now. That's a big step.
I didn't expect to feel this way after the session. Lighter, maybe. I'd always thought therapy was about fixing things, but it seemed like today it was more about recognizing them, naming the weight you're carrying. And somehow, just naming it made it feel a little less heavy. Dr. Wilson continued.
We don't have to solve everything today. Therapy is about the process. But now that you've started to share what's been bothering you, we can work together on figuring out what to do next.
Her words made sense. I wasn't here for a magic cure. I wasn't expecting to walk out and have all my problems solved. But for the first time in a while, I felt like I wasn't in this alone. There was someone else helping me make sense of the confusion. After about 40 minutes, Dr. Wilson smiled again, this time with a bit of a nod, signaling that our time was up.
This is just the beginning. We'll have plenty of time to dig deeper into these feelings and work through them. For now, it's important to recognize the progress you've already made by just showing up today.
I stood up, feeling more grounded than when I had walked in. The problems were still there, but they didn't seem quite as overwhelming. As I left the office, I realized I was looking forward to coming back next week, something I never would have expected. Stepping outside into the fresh air, I thought to myself, maybe therapy wasn't about fixing me. Maybe it was about helping me learn to navigate my life better. And that felt like a good place to start.
New vocabulary and phrases.
My leg nervously crossed over the other.
It describes a physical action, crossing one leg over the other, that reflects the speaker's nervousness or anxiety at that moment. The crossing of legs is not just casual, but is influenced by a feeling of nervousness. Example, before the interview, my leg nervously crossed over the other as I waited to be called in.
You're strong. Figure it out yourself.
It is often said to encourage or challenge someone to handle a situation independently, implying that the person is capable of dealing with it without assistance. The tone can vary. It could be supportive, motivating, or even a bit harsh, depending on how it is said. Example, when Sarah was overwhelmed with her project, her friend said, "You're strong, figure it out yourself. I know you can do it."
Motto.
A motto is a short phrase or sentence that expresses a guiding principle, belief, or goal. It often serves as a motivational reminder for individuals, groups, or organizations, encapsulating their values or mission in a simple, memorable way. Example, a motto that encourages tolerance, and respect for others.
What do I even say?
The phrase is often used to express uncertainty or confusion about how to respond in a situation. It conveys feelings of being at a loss for words, especially when faced with a difficult question, unexpected news, or complex situation. Example, when your friend tells you they lost their job, you might respond, "What do I even say?" "I'm so sorry to hear that." What does she even say?
Popped into my head.
The phrase means that a thought or idea suddenly came to mind or occurred to someone unexpectedly. It often conveys the notion of spontaneity or an unplanned realization. Example, while I was reading, a solution to the problem popped into my head.
Where would I even begin?
Expresses a sense of uncertainty or confusion about how to start a task, project, or conversation. It conveys feelings of being overwhelmed or not knowing the first step to take. Example, when I saw the size of the project, I thought, where would I even begin? Where would she even begin?
Hesitated.
The word is the past tense of the verb hesitate. It means to pause before taking action or making a decision, often due to uncertainty, doubt, or indecision. Example, she hesitated before answering the question, unsure of the right response.
Traffic jam of thoughts.
The phrase is a metaphorical expression used to describe a situation where a person has many thoughts or ideas clashing or piling up in their mind, making it difficult to think clearly or make decisions. Just like a physical traffic jam can cause delays and confusion on the road, a traffic jam of thoughts can lead to mental clutter and frustration. Example, after the long meeting, I left with a traffic jam of thoughts about the project's direction and next steps.
Her words hit home.
The phrase means that what she said had a significant impact on someone. It resonated deeply, or was particularly relevant or meaningful. It often implies that the words prompted a strong emotional reaction or made someone reflect on their own experiences or feelings. Example, the speaker's message about perseverance really hit home, inspiring many in the audience.
Her words made sense.
The phrase means that what she said was clear, logical, and easy to understand. It implies that the speaker's message was coherent and resonated with the listener, providing clarity or insight into a situation. Example, after she explained her reasoning, I realized that her words made sense and I understood her perspective.
Opening a floodgate.
The phrase is a metaphor that refers to unleashing or triggering something that leads to an overwhelming or uncontrollable surge. It often implies that once something starts, such as emotions, actions, or events, it becomes difficult to stop or control. Example, when she started talking about her past, it was like opening a floodgate and all her emotions came pouring out.
A bit of a nod.
The phrase is an informal expression that usually refers to a small or subtle acknowledgement, approval, or recognition. It can be used literally, referring to a slight physical gesture, nodding the head, or metaphorically, indicating a small sign of approval, agreement, or reference. Example, she gave me a bit of a nod when I suggested the idea, so I knew she agreed.
Bottling up.
The phrase refers to the act of suppressing or holding back emotions, especially negative feelings such as anger, sadness, or frustration, instead of expressing them openly. When someone is bottling up their emotions, it means they are keeping their feelings inside rather than dealing with them, which can eventually lead to emotional stress or an outburst. Example, she's been bottling up her feelings for weeks, and now it's starting to affect her health.
Thank you for being with us until the end. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel and answer the question in the comments.